Hello and welcome back to my channel. Now it feels like I haven't done a bag review in forever and I apologise, I've got so many bags to catch up on, but today I thought I would start with one of my newer bags which I bought pre-loved right at the start of June this year, and that is the Everyday bag in the medium size by The Row. So I bought mine off Vestiaire, which for those of you who aren't familiar with Vestiaire is a pre-loved marketplace, kind of like eBay but without the bidding situation, and they offer an authentication service, which is why I really like it and I've used it so many times. I think the last time I counted I'd used Vestiaire about 18 times and bought 18 various different things. So yes, I bought off Vestiaire. I set myself an alert once I realised, or once I sort of made the decision that this was a bag that I wanted to hunt out and wanted to buy. And I knew that I wanted to buy it secondhand because The Row is a very, very expensive brand to buy, and it's actually one of those brands which doesn't retain the same amount of value, unlike brands like Hermes and Chanel, which can often go up in price on the secondhand market. The Row is one of those brands which decreases in value. So it's always a good idea if you're looking at buying a brand like The Row to look on the pre-loved market, because you will get it at a much better and more reasonable price, budget depending. Right, so as usual with these videos, my reviews, I like to have used a bag for at least 2 months so that I can get to know it and realise the pros and cons so I can give those back to you guys. And I've actually used this 3 months today. That was when I purchased it 3 months ago. My only side note is that because I bought this at the start of June, I have only used this bag during the summer months. So that's my only kind of side note for the review that I am about to give. Right, let's start off with the pros of the bag. And pro number one is the full zip closure. And actually full zip closures are really rare to find on a designer bag. The majority of them are more of like a tote style or a flap or something like that. It's not often you find a full zip closure on a designer bag. Now the pro of the full zip closure is security. Obviously if you have a tote bag that's wide open, it's super easy for someone to slip their hand in there. And this is me saying this from my old city girl mentality. Having a bag with a zip closure now is not even remotely a feature that I look for, because we live out in the countryside. We moved out of the city, so I'm no longer using all of the public transport, the tubes, trains, buses, etc. And those are the times, and also just being in general in a busy, bustling city, especially anywhere near Oxford Circus, those were the kind of times where I felt like I needed to keep my bag close, as any city goer will, I'm sure, be used to, and you just become aware of your belongings. And so a zip closure is obviously one of those things which is really important for security. And for anyone out there who is still a city goer, that's why I wanted to mention this as a point. Now, whilst I've said the zip is a pro, there is one tiny little con to the zip, which I will touch on when I get to the cons section of this video. But now moving on to pro number two, which is the pebbled leather. Now, I am a big ambassador for textured leather when it comes to buying luxury handbags. I will always recommend that to anyone that asks for my advice when purchasing a luxury handbag. And it's purely for longevity and durability. I just think that when you have a leather with a texture on it, it's much more forgiving. So if you get any kind of scuff or scratch or dirt even on there, I just think it makes it far less visible to see. And therefore, in my head, the maths of that, or the logical sequence of thinking, would then be that your handbag would last you for longer and you would be more inclined to keep wearing it because you can't see that it's got any wear to it, if that makes any sense. Well, that's at least how my mind works. Pro number three is along the same lines, or at least it's also to do with the leather of the bag, and it's actually comfort. And I know that that might seem like an odd pro for a bag or an odd feature of a handbag because it's not like you wear it as such, but Some handbags can be uncomfortable to wear. I've had many of them. This, however, is one of those bags, the leather, whilst it's thick, it's so, what's the word? Moldable. Like it will form and it will mold to your body as you're wearing it because it's quite a slouchy sort of, I mean, the shape in itself is slouchy, it's a hobo shape. But as you're wearing it under your arm, it will mould to your body, which makes it very comfortable. It's also a seamless design. So this here is essentially just one piece of leather. So there are no sticky out seams on there to irritate your underarm or anything like that, or at least this is what I have found. There are no additional zippers, like a zipper on the front, which you might catch your arm on, or even an item of clothing on, like if you were wearing a knitwear, there's nothing that I have snagged on here so far. It's just a really comfortable bag. And also when it comes to this nice and moulded shoulder strap as well, it's really comfortable to have. It's quite a wide shoulder strap, which again, I'm going to touch on in the cons because there is a little con that comes with that. But because it's made out of this same pebbled leather and it's actually doubled over, it's a double layer at the top here, so it essentially feels a bit padded. It's not one of those shoulder straps that feels like it's going to dig in. And if you do put a lot of stuff in the bag, because it had that wider surface area, it doesn't feel like it's going to cause any pain on the shoulder. So comfort is my third pro of this bag. Pro number 4, which I think often features in the majority of my handbag reviews, but it is the minimalistic style or minimalistic design of this bag. And that essentially was what pulled me in initially. And then I was looking at all the other various factors of the bag and I was like, yep, love, love, love. The row, as I have already mentioned, is a very classic, subtle on the branding kind of brand, and that is what I love about any handbag that I am looking to purchase these days. And I think sometimes each to their own, but for me personally, I don't look at a bag and think I need a logo, I need more hardware, I need zippers, I need this pocket in this pocket, I need compartments. I don't look at a bag and think I need all of these extras in order for it to be worth the money that I'm paying. When it comes to design, historically, the best designs are the most simplistic and the most minimal, and that completely embodies this bag. And finally, my 5th pro is versatility. This is one of those bags which pretty much goes with everything. I've never felt limited as to what I can wear this bag with. So this has been one of those bags that throughout the last 3 months I have reached for time and time again. Mainly because it is a new bag and I'll often wear a new bag in my collection more than perhaps some of my others. But it's been one of those bags that I've reached for time and time again because of its versatility, because it's just so simple. Again, going back to that pro number 4, simple, minimalistic, and it just works. And it almost adds, even though it's so simple, it almost adds just a little something extra to every outfit that I'm wearing, but not in a dressed up kind of way. It almost transforms itself to work with each different outfit, which is something that I really appreciate about this bag. Right, now that we've got the pros done, I'm going to move on to the cons, and I'm going to go back to this handle, which I mentioned as a pro with it being comfortable. However, the handle is very, very wide. It's wider than the majority of any of my bags. And unfortunately, that means that it slips off my shoulder quite frequently when I'm wearing it. Now, as I have mentioned in this video, I have only been able to wear this for the last 3 months, which have all been summer months. I feel like potentially as we move into outerwear season, the handle slipping off my shoulder could potentially be a bit of a non-issue for the autumn-winter seasons, because if I'm going to be wearing outerwear, I'm going to have something with slightly more structured shoulders, and I have very narrow, small shoulders. So potentially this point is a bit void anyway, because it's not really a handle problem, it's a body problem. And I'm not saying narrow shoulders are a problem, but it's more so that my shoulders are narrow and that's why the bag slips off. If you have broader shoulders, the bag will probably stay on your shoulder, but it's just a little niggle that I have. I'm nitpicking here because actually I genuinely love this bag. Con number 2 is the size. And what I mean by that is that as this bag came in 2 sizes, I actually don't think that going for the larger size has made much difference in terms of what you can put in there. And the reason for this is because it's a very specific sort of hobo rounded shape of bag. It's a very beautiful shape, but it means that even though this size is larger than the smaller size, and you could technically fit more inside, it actually distorts the shape of the bag the more you put in there. So I'm more inclined to not overfill it. And so yeah, unfortunately, it's not one of those bags like I feel like I could use as a travel bag, for example, whereas something like my Celine So Sangle, I could, because it's basically like a giant bucket, so you can just fill stuff in there and it doesn't really alter the shape of the bag. Whereas this, you do have to be careful with what you put in there because it can alter that shape. Right, and finally, I'm gonna go back to the zipper and fill you guys in on what I think is a little con. And as I've said, I'm really, really nitpicking on this bag because I don't really find that there are many cons to it at all. But if I were to carry the bag with the very small logo pointing outwards, which would be technically the correct direction of the bag, and were to have it on my shoulder, the zipper, as you might be able to see here, goes from back to front. That's the direction of opening. Which, and this again is my city girl brain kicking in, but if, let's say back in the day when I needed to reach out, and this was always my thought process when I was using a bag or buying a bag, my thought process would be, I need to be able to access my card holder so I can tap in and out when I was travelling on any of the London transport. And so to do that, if you have a bag that's on your shoulder, if it's an open tote bag, fine, not great for security, but at least you can just whip your hand in, boop, tap, done. Whereas this, it's awkward to undo the zipper from the back, whereas if it were at the front, you could unzip it to just fit your hand in, pop your hand in, get your card, boop, done, off you go. Whereas this, you've got to take the whole bag off, unzip it, rummage around, get your card holder, zip it back up, put it back on, and then do the same process again to put your card holder back in. So that would just be a tiny little thing for me. Right, so there we go. That is my full review of the everyday shoulder bag in size medium by The Row. If there are any questions that any of you have relating to the bag that I haven't answered in the video, please do leave them down in the comments below and I will get back to you as soon as possible. And if anyone has any requests for a specific bag in my collection that you've seen me wearing that you want a review of, then again let me know in the comments below. But for now, thank you very much as always for watching, and I will see you next time.